Executive Officer, Telangana Hub, Hyderabad. Uh, he's he's also a Chief Innovative Officer, Telangana Society of Innovation Cell. He has advised corporations and governments in implementing startup and innovation programs. He has also pioneered a digital transformation program that leverages innovative and disruptive technologies from startups globally. He has helped Microsoft build the accelerator program for China, Israel, Europe, India, and US startup ecosystems for large stage startups. He is currently focused on taking startups to market globally through the Startup Co-Sell program. The Microsoft has already announced with an investment commitment of 500 million US dollars. Welcome, Ravi. This is all yours to talk about the nano technology there.
Great. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Absolutely. We can see and hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Great. So I'm very excited to be part of this AI Fest 2020. I know 15 minutes is too short a time for me to cover anything substantive, but what I will try to do is give you a gist of what I see going on and the plethora of opportunities that are opening up in front of us because of the pandemic crisis that we are in today. One of the things that I talk about to my startups across the world is that the normalcy that we had expected to see, or that we had got taken for granted, and we thought we were doing something very sexy by saying, oh, my startup has AI, or my company does products that has AI, is no longer a normalcy that we can take for granted, that going forward, because the normalcy that we will be getting into is going to be absolutely different from what we had expected to see in the coming days. So whoever gets a sense about how that new normal is going to be and is able to take action quickly, if you are able to build those features, products, or even change your entire business strategy to be able to take advantage of these opportunities that are presenting themselves to you, I think you are going to be in a much, much better place. So I think today, more than 50% of the startups that we are working with are taking a lot of help in thinking through a lot of these fundamental issues that are going on in their world and making those changes, in a small way or a big way. So a lot of that is happening. There are a few of those startups that are not necessarily in a place, either because they have cash flow issues or because they just don't know how to make sense of this whole change that is happening, this disruption that is happening around them, which is very unfortunate, given that startups are supposed to be thriving in disruption and not necessarily becoming victims of disruption, which is the job of the large companies, by the way, to be victims of the disruption. So I think we are in a very interesting place where a lot of startups kind of try to find demand for their solutions. Interestingly, the demand is right there, all around us. It's like, if there was some way of putting all the demands that you can potentially get in a time and place, and put it on a platter and offer it to all our startups, we have done that through this situation, which is probably a sadistic way of saying it, but it is definitely true for startups who want to really grab these opportunities and take it on. So, but having said that, one of the things that you will find India having is a lot of data that is available to us, so that you can train your models and build those interesting technologies using AI. Because AI in itself is not a solution. It is solving certain problems that are being presented to you, and therefore you also need access to good data. Now, access to data is something that we in India have struggled with quite a bit in terms of its accuracy, its cleanliness, and so on and so forth, so that you can run your models on it. But so I think we're getting better and better at it over the last 3 years. A lot of different IITs and triple ITs are definitely in a much better place than they were 3 4 years ago, to actually not only do their work but also do the work that the startups are looking for help on, in terms of presenting the right kind of data. So I would say, that's one definite place where you can look for, if you have some very interesting problems to solve that you are excited about, and you can apply the right AI technology. This will definitely be the right place, right time to start approaching some of these organizations. Also, a lot of large companies that are also sitting on a lot of data, they are also beginning to, of course, do a lot of good work themselves, but they also feel that this is a time when it's not just the 200 300 man organizations that will go solve a particular problem. It is also the nimble 5 10 15 startups that are actually going 15 man startups that are actually going to do things much faster and potentially much more interestingly, because one, they can't take a lot of things for granted. They have to make do with whatever they have, and therefore either working directly with large companies which are looking to solve some problems, which of course we can help you with. T-Hub, by the way, T-Hub stands for Technology Hub and not Telangana Hub. So we are using this opportunity to say that because we now have access to pretty much startups across the world, be it in Israel, be it in US, wherever, and they are coming to us and saying, are there any particular opportunities that we can work on to solve problems of large corporations, who, by the way, pay on, also ready to invest, but also look at governments that could be ready to share some data, that would allow you to do the interesting work that you can do. So obviously, going and working with large corporations and also being part of their accelerator programs or some startup program that they would have is a good way to sidle up to those opportunities that are there in large companies. The other one, of course, is there is always this very difficult concern that we have to deal with as to whether AI is going to go out of hand and start doing certain things that will definitely start impacting our ability to be using our humanness and our creativity and so on and so forth. I'm sure you have touched upon this in some of the other sessions, but as you all know, Harari talks about it. It's either inside the skin or outside the skin. I think we are drawing the line and saying, okay, let's do those opportunities that are outside the skin. Face recognition, various other things. Yes, it does encroach on your privacy, but given certain difficulties that we have today, especially the difficulties of numbers in India, difficulties of people not understanding or appreciating the depth of these problems. Definitely, we need to see what are the outside of the skin opportunities that AI can solve for, and using the data that we potentially can gather already that is there, or gather through drones and other mechanisms, is the second thing that I would suggest to this audience. And then obviously the opportunities that we are looking to solve for in the new normal are in the areas of cybersecurity, healthcare, in agriculture, and of course anything that's related to COVID is definitely of very great interest to us, and we will be happy to help in any possible way we can. In fact, we have been working very closely with this team of VCs in India called ACT Grants, and they have actually worked with certain companies that have been able to solve these problems either in a different domain, and therefore bring the technology platform and repurpose it for the purpose for solving COVID-related issues. Uh, and various other things they're happy to fund if you're have ready-made solutions that you can take to the several state and central governments. So for all those reasons, I think it's important to look at what is it that you can do right away, and if there is a way for us to be able to help you at T-Hub, we are very happy to do that. The last thing I'll leave you with is we are very interested in leveraging Hyderabad's natural ecosystem of pharma and healthcare and so on and so forth, and also bringing in AI into the picture. So we have a new initiative with the Atal Innovation Center, which we will be opening very soon in the bioinformatics space. So if you are doing anything in that space, obviously you should look us up, and the head of the AIC I will put you in touch with, so that you can actually take advantage of what we can do. So T-Hub is a very interesting organization. We have the ability to straddle government, academia, corporations, investors, and so on and so forth. So uh, we are not looked upon as competing with any of these people. So the ability for us to draw the right connects, the right resources, the right data sets for you is so much easier for us, because we are part of all these organizations in some fashion or the other. So look us up and see how we can be of use to you in your journeys of building AI solutions. One, for the immediate crisis that we are in, but also for the new normal that we are going to be entering into very soon. So a lot of the decisions that we're going to make today are going to stay with us for the next 10 years. So if you are grabbing this opportunity to build those kinds of solutions, those will have longevity like nothing else. You are actually creating new paradigms, you're creating new solutions, and therefore you have that the leg up that none of your competitors will, if you move really quickly. So whatever we can do to help you build those solutions and quickly, but also build those solutions that have the sustaining power to have the depth and the intensity that they can solve these problems. It's not a peripheral, it's not like a chatbot or something like that that you can do very quickly. I'm not saying chatbots are small, but I'm just saying, there are lots of very, very deep problems that we can solve together. If those are the kinds of things that you're looking for, we can definitely be of help to you in this journey. So with that, I'll stop. Mahesh, I don't know if we have any questions that we can answer, or if this is all you would like to hear.
Ravi, before we enter into the questions, you mentioned one word which kind of struck a lot in my head. Okay, the new normal. Uh, T-Hub has always been a closed entity for outsiders. Now, but with the words which you just mentioned, with the openings which people can see, I'm sure there would be a lot of interested guys. Is there any a formal way to kind of reach out T-Hub uh, in terms of introducing what they think is the best solution, or is there a kind of a cell which takes care of any new entries?
Well, it's unfortunate that we haven't been able to use technology to do away with our old maybe paradigm of being considered closed. We are far from that. We are very, very open. In fact, we were looking to open up the building as well before all these things happened. So anyway, having said that, there is an email address, community@t-hub.co, which is an email address that you can send any of your emails to, and we will route it to the right people, be it the CEO of the AIC, be it part of any of the startup programs, be it part of any of the VC programs. So there is one, common email that we are monitoring all the time that you can send this to. I can type it in also if you would like, but it's community@t-hub.co.
Thank you very much for that, Ravi. That actually helps a lot of people in terms of sending out their information for you to evaluate and see if it actually matters for the entire rest of the world. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you do not mind, I request you to share that email address in the chat box if that's all right with you.
Sure.
And thank you very much for taking your precious time to kind of give a little speech in terms of how things are happening in the world. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Ravi. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.